What's going on, everybody? I am James Betts of Sipp Culture, where we highlight individuals, groups, organizations, or anybody for that matter who enhances or contributes to the culture. Today with me, I got a special guest, somebody I've been trying to get back in touch with to do an interview again with, my boy, Kyris Brown. What's up, man?
What's going on, bro? Good to see you, man. I appreciate the opportunity, man.
Yeah, man. We're here in Jackson, Mississippi, and had to connect with my boy, for another interview. So, for those who don't know, who is Kyris Brown?
Just a little country boy, man, from the Mississippi Delta. I'm originally from Cleveland, Mississippi. However, my lineage is in Mound Bayou and Winstonville, just north of Cleveland. So we'll consider that I'm a Mississippi Deltian, 61 boy, home of the flatlands, cotton, and the Delta blues, for the most part. But went to high school there, graduated from Eastside High School, went to Mississippi Delta Community College, obtained a business and also a fashion degree. Later transferred to University of Southern Mississippi, Southern Miss to the top. Pledged fraternity, Kappa Alpha Psi. Then I graduated also with a dual in business and also fashion. Started working in corporate America. Well, started working with my friends first, probably about the first 3 years after I graduated. Then started working in corporate, as far as in sales, marketing, business, and then transitioned a little bit later over into higher education. But clothing has been a part of my essence and my DNA, from the beginning. So I come from like a very fashion-forward family.
Okay.
So those who know me know it's, something that's always been with me.
Okay. So like with fashion in a sense, why did you get into fashion? Was it just something you just said I want to do, or was it,
It's, ever since I can just remember, my great grandfather probably was one of my first style and fashion inspirations. He was the quintessential Southern gentleman. Suits, loved to shine his shoe collection. Always wore a fedora hat.
Oh, yeah.
It just left an image. He raised us on 3 principles that there's 3 things people recognize when they see you for the first time, and it's your race, your gender, and what you have on. So he said you got to represent all 3 well at all times. So they always stuck with me.
Absolutely.
My mother always was an elegant dresser, still is. Floor length minks and Givenchy and Louis Vuitton, Chanel back in the 80s. My uncles, my biological father, my father, so fashion was more so like sports and martial arts. It was it broke me out of my shell. Mm-hmm. So I used to see, my TT and other people, just assemble clothing. And it just always stuck with me, for the most part. I was always voted by my peers best dressed. And I think it kind of started with a science project where I kind of showed how a shoe is assembled. And one of the shoes, after the science project was over with, I pretty much, before I assembled it back together, I kind of did some customization to it. Did it to the other one, came to school, the rest was history. They kind of started my design aspect for the most part.
Right.
So coming up, I would do, jean sets, customized sneakers, when the Gucci and the monogram era were back in the early 2000s, were hitting, I used to do all that. I had Gucci stuff, even though we don't support Gucci no more. But I had like Gucci, seats and Gucci roof all in my car.
Yeah,
I had the whole customization, ghetto fabulous, what I'm saying? And I used to do all that. So when I had the opportunity, when I went to junior college and had the opportunity to major in fashion, I was like, I double majored in business fashion. So just science, man, I've always been interested in it. I never think that I would be in the high end far as on the suit side in the bespoke world. I thought initially, like all young black males, we want to be in the urban climate, you know.
Right.
But I just paid attention to the signs, man, and here I am.
So, I mean, speaking of customization, like explain to the people what is Kyris Customs, you know, what the concept behind Kyris Customs?
Well, Kyris Custom is basically, you know, I'm a full service tailor. You know, I offer made to measure and also bespoke, which is two different processes when you actually create a suit, a garment, what we call. But I service clients as far as men and women, predominantly men, all around the world, as far as custom formal and semi-formal attire, you know, for the most part. So the name within itself is, you know, custom pieces, anywhere from suits, tuxedos, you know, sport jackets, blazers, waistcoats, trousers, shirts, top coats. You know, if it's formal or semi-formal, I can create it for you.
Man, that's pretty unique. Just to, you know, I didn't even know the process that goes into that, and you happen to, like, you know, size and measure and all of that.
Yeah.
So,
you know, doing a consultation is so outside of the actual garment that I'm creating for the client. That's not only what you pay me for. You pay me for, you know, my service. And with my service, it's more so to assist clients in building a suit or a garment. And that comes with education and just knowing etiquette, you know, things that are appropriate for the seasons when it comes to actual garment, for the feel, you know, because in my area, there's in my expertise, there's a vast there's a vast variation of just options that you can choose from when it comes to just fabrics and colors and styles. So when I'm actually sitting down with clients, I try to educate them in the sense of whatever the event that we're doing this for, whether it's just one lifestyle event like a wedding, or a prom, or a black tie event, or if we're trying to build a wardrobe. So I kind of guide you through that process, outside of just saying, okay, here, this is what I'm gonna make for you, pay me, and then we done. You know, it's more so a relationship, you know, that I build with all clients. At least I try to.
Right.
Yeah.
And it seems like since you're well versed in that, it seems like you've educated yourself on how to, you know, custom the person's whatever their journey is, whether it's like you said, you know, one-time event or, you know, building their wardrobe. Yeah. So just having a
so, you know, my clientele, it stretches, man. I deal from anywhere from the business executive to the, you know, politicians, all the way to the guys who, you know, work a 9 to 5, you know, for the most part. So some of my people, some of my clientele, they know specifically, you know, what they want because they are experienced within wardrobe.
Right.
And then you have some guys who probably haven't worn a suit since their graduation, you know. So I take pride in kind of like both clients because I'm able to collaborate and work. And even some of my clients who are experienced within wardrobe, they may not know some of the things I still know because I'm the expert in a sense. That's why they hire me, just as well as I would probably hire them for their expertise. So regardless what client it is, you know, the process is what I kind of take pride in.
Right. And being in fashion, are there any type of designers in the industry that you're influenced by, or that, you know?
I wouldn't necessarily say that I have a huge influence from one or two particular, you know, designers. I would say this: my father is my biggest style inspiration. You know, so I don't necessarily have to look through a magazine or look through anything online to find inspiration. I could just look at old photos of my father, right? And even just from my mother's side, you know, for as my mother, I can look at just old things and see how elegant she is. So I kind of mimic a classic approach to all pieces in which I create, you know, for the most part. However, there's probably one or two people, you know, that I highly respect, not only because of their expertise, but also their story, you know, for the most part. So if you can say that that's some influence, you know, that's fine. But I more so say inspiration, you know. But my father and my mother are definitely, you know, two of the people who influence me the most when it comes to style.
Okay, and then, you know, I've seen you use the term opulence, where it's wealth, riches, and affluence. And when you use that term, is it in a sense of like wealth and financial status, or is that like every aspect?
Oh yeah, I mean it covers. It's an umbrella. You know, it covers not only just clothing, what I do, but it's just the approach of life.
Right.
Not necessarily meaning anything monetarily. You know, just I think that word in my eyes, even though it has its definition, and I adhere to that definition, it may disclose in Webster's dictionary, but it also means just the best. And I feel that approach is always doing your best, because that's something that my mother always just instilled in me when I was a kid, whether it was in school or if it was basically in athletics, whatever it was. My mother, when she sent me off, she would always say, be obedient and do your best. And I feel that word opulence is the best. So, it's an umbrella. It's a play on anything. It's just life in general.
Absolutely. Well, most people, when they see you on social media and they see the fashion and all of that, but they, you're into economics as well. Like that's one of my things I love to talk about or engage in, economics. Like opinion, like what's a good strategy to, protect your economic bubble, or whether it's individual or group economics? What's your opinion on that?
Well, we have this thing right now, which I hope is not a trend, but support black businesses. That's the rhetoric that we kind of preach right now.
Right.
That's not necessarily a trend. That's the way of life for me, because I grew up in a family with black businesses.
Right.
I seen my father that raised me employ the entire family, as far as his siblings, nephews, nieces, children. As well as I'm from a place by way of Winstonville, which is Mound Bayou, Mississippi, which is the first black established town founded by slaves. And within that town was black economics, insurance companies, as far as Magnolia Insurance, cotton gins, oil companies, groceries, black people had their own self-sustainability. They were self-sufficient. So economics, in a sense, to answer your question, the average millionaire, they say, have 7 streams of income.
Right.
And I feel that we all have something that we're gifted in. We just don't know. But if you can kind of harp into and tune into what you do best and master your craft, you can financially be compensated for it once you understand the business side of it.
Right.
So I feel like just working at one job, which is not because I work for a living, but I also try to reach out to means of having, just other streams of income, in a sense. That basically protects you from any type of economic collapse or just depending on one thing.
Right.
Just like goes back to the term, that well is gonna run dry. And that's true. You know what I'm saying? So you should always think ahead of the curve when it comes to finances, and not be so emotional when it comes to money. Dave Ramsey say, most financial decisions are like emotionally based.
Right.
We do a lot of things based on finances through emotions. Just like, for instance, I had a wreck. Me and my wife, we had a head-on collision. I totaled my Benz. I haven't bought a car yet, and the reason being is because after the first month of still getting around because of vehicles that we have, like, I really don't need to buy a car, right? Because if I'm not finna Uber, if I'm not finna use it as a shuttle service, I'm not finna get a return on investment on the car.
Right.
So what I need to do is just be patient and not get caught up thinking emotionally that I need a car just because I had a car. And you'll be surprised what you can do when you don't have.
Yeah.
A lot of people just don't want to do because they don't want to have that discipline that they need to have.
Right.
Yeah.
And I was always told, whenever something, traumatic happens, whether it's good or bad, I say, I was told that don't do anything right as soon as it happens, because the emotions are there, everything is, coming to place. Like whether you win the lottery or you get a divorce, it's like you have to kind of,
evaluate it.
Right, sit back and evaluate, be observant of what's going on and not think on the emotions.
Yeah.
You actually, don't think with your emotions, use your emotions to think, and just put it in that perspective where you don't have to allow those emotions to kind of navigate every decision that you make.
Emotions are indicators that we're human. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That we're unique in being human.
Right.
Emotions is a good thing, but also if you kind of act on them and react on them, you know, it can be a detriment because you make very impulse decisions based off of your emotions. And one of the Godfather trilogy is one of my favorite trilogies, also movies, but Don Corleone, not Don Corleone, but Michael, well, he was Don then, he told one of his subordinates, was like, you know, don't think off and make judgments off anger. You know, it affects your judgment. Right. You know what I mean? So I always just kind of, you know, take that into heed when it comes to financially making decisions based on emotions.
Right.
Yeah.
And what we were saying on economics earlier, you know, you have those two objectives of your current lifestyle and your future lifestyle, where your current lifestyle is paid for by your labor. And then your future lifestyle is paid for by your investments. Some people, they don't look ahead and say, well, you know, I'm just going to work and I just need a job. Like, kind of secure, take a portion of your income, put it somewhere, allocate it to an asset that's going to be paying you, because your dollar is probably the best employee you can hire.
Yeah,
you know,
so. You definitely need to have your money working for you. It's based on compound interest.
Right.
You know, whether you're playing stocks or anything else. But there's also a hidden compound interest of investing and thinking, you know, for the future. Like me, I tell my wife this, and I think about this all the time. Like, I don't get too caught up of planning for the next 20, 30 years. Like, what I'm trying to do, I'm planning for the next 200 years. You know, just for instance, my great-grandmother, Magnolia, she's still living, you know. She's 94. Her great-grandmother was a slave. Right? That's my great-grandmother 4 times. She was a slave outside of Montgomery, Alabama, in Wilcox County. Her daughter, which is my mother's grandmother, migrated here back in the early 1900s, like 1901-ish, around that area. So when I see my great-grandmother and when I look at my tattoo of her, I have a direct association to our people being enslaved and in bondage. She was born in 1850. That's not too long ago, man, right? That's right over 160 some years ago. So just seeing that alone, that's why I think for the next 200 years, because I know someone in the family may have some lineage towards my great-great-grandkids 3 or 4 times over. So that's why I try to plan financially, of having that compound interest that you can't see when it comes to stock, to still kind of replicate itself and build over family generations, you know?
Right, and yeah, just having that, looking ahead that far, you know, you put yourself and the generations after in positions of, like, you know, not just thinking about, because things are passed down, whether it's habits, whether it's like certain things, and you know, you kind of take on what your parents pass on, and you know, some people just think, hey, I have to work, and then that's it, you know, and then after I retire, I just that's just the end of the story, but not thinking about other other generations after.
I mean, even with working, you know, you still have the financially, you still have the ability to plan responsibly when it comes to finances.
Right.
You know, as far as people that live check to check, I understand isolated situations happens. I understand it. I understand real life situation happen. Someone may take sick, may be a death. Something may happen. I understand that. But I feel that, especially with us as African Americans, it's like we accept that and feel that that's the only cards that are supposed to be dealt to us.
Right.
Like, we don't necessarily plan to say, how am I going to get out of this? How I'm going to see the light and how I'm going to make things better, right? I used to work, like I said, in the business sector, and I used to work, you know, in financial planning and also in life insurance. And I would be surprised at how many, you know, black households wouldn't have life insurance, when indicators show, studies show that outside of generational wealth is passed down through home ownership and also life insurance. That's how you get your head start, and that's how you get your head start here in America as far as wealth, is through passing down. And you can do that through home ownership and also life insurance. And life insurance life insurance is very, very it's easily accessed, whether through your own job or through, just selling and disciplining yourself to put $5-10 a week away just to have $200,000 policy. That's a huge jump start, to pass down to someone.
Right.
When it comes to generational wealth.
I want to transition over to mindset. Like what mindset should an entrepreneur adopt when they start on a journey or when they go on a new venture?
I mean, first is belief, self-confidence. I would say, if you're gonna listen to other people's, opinion, and it's typically gonna be derivative of self-doubt within your own self. So someone might give you some information and say, nah, that may not work. That's because they doubt themselves, right? So the number one, I would say, mindset someone needs to go on, and it's not just any task, any duty, is just belief and self-confidence. If you know something will work based upon you either seeing it or visualizing it, the failure is not doing it, Right. But if you do it and you tried and you didn't get the results necessarily that you expected, you did it. That's the lesson. So all you do is build up off that. So that's the mindset. It's either you believe you can't or you can't. Automatically, you believe one another. Right. You believe the other, one or the other. You believe you can or you can't. And the mindset is very important, man. Like I always tell people, the mind is subservient. It'll do what you tell it. Right. You just have to do what you want it to do. And that alone, far as the belief, will carry you through, man.
Like earlier, speaking briefly about the law of attraction, which I delve deep into it. It's just like your conscious mind and your subconscious mind, where your conscious mind has the ability to accept or reject information. And once it enters in your subconscious, like there's no way you could just. You have to feed your conscious mind like that. Those positive thoughts or thoughts of like that belief. Your belief system has to be bigger than any doubt that you have. And so like just having that mindset and not allowing your subconscious to gain some negative thoughts that you just feed it. You have to kind of shift that paradigm into something outside of your comfort zone.
Exactly.
So I think in mindset in general, you have to be able to look outside the world that you view. It's mainly, to me, it's more so like what you envision versus what you see. Like your bank account could be negative $40 or whatever, but then you envision yourself being a multimillionaire. So every action you take is based upon that seed that you plant, opposed to what you're looking at. If your account is like in a negative or something. So those emotions are tied to what you desire.
I wrote a check to myself for $1 million back in 2010. I wish I had it right here. It's framed, but it's actually in one of my storage boxes. I still have that check. And, I'm not a millionaire now, but I definitely didn't have what I have back then, right? But I can automatically just feel it. I'm like, I'm going to be a multimillionaire one day. And it's going to be for the good reason. It's not going to be to be this. It's going to put people in position and to help people, because that's ultimately my goal, Well, my life's goal is a little different, but I want to help people. But I had that visualization, man, in my 20s. I wrote a check to myself for $1 million, and still working at it,
Yeah, like everything that you do, it's like where you are now and where you desire to be. Everything in between, if there was a step how to get there, then everybody would just follow that, but you have to,
And to touch on that check, birds of a feather flock together. You're the average of the 5 people you hang around the most.
Right.
I got 2-3 other friends got the same check, and I didn't even know. My boy Todd in Atlanta, he has that check that he wrote his own self $1 million check. It's crazy, man. I look at my senior book, when I was 17 years old in high school, and I listed my goals. And some of the goals, most of the goals that I all have put down, except for having children, I pretty much eliminated, you know, and that was me as a 17-year-old kid, you know, just having a prophetic mindset then of just belief, like I'm gonna get there, you know. It's powerful, man. It's really powerful.
It is powerful. The mind is sharp enough to cut through any situation that you want to get to, or sharp enough to cut your own head off.
Yep.
So you have to use it, that ability, because it's that muscle you have to exercise.
Exactly.
And constantly use it. If you're curious about anything, or you want to learn something, or you want to just push for a goal, that's where that's where everything starts. Whatever the mind consumes, the body follows. So like I said, if you're thinking of those negative thoughts, it's just going to act upon that, you know. Another thing about mindset is where, you know, I remove from situations that I have no control over. I just say, if my situation is chaotic, I look at my ability to get out of it, or my ability to use my mind to get out of a situation. I think more people should kind of remove that emotion from things that they can't control. Because in entrepreneurship, anything in life, you'll just go through something and you're just basically in a position where you just, like, you're allowing your situation to kind of make your decisions for you, opposed to you taking control.
That's true. That's true.
And now, like, society's reality versus your reality. Like, society might say, hey, like, you know, this is not the way it goes, and you have that belief system, like you said earlier. Like, how would you respond to somebody in that conversation, or if you would respond to somebody saying that's unrealistic, that goal that you just said, or whatever the case may be?
Well, I mean, honestly, you know, I have the maturity and the wisdom now that I automatically know who I can share a vision to. And by me knowing it automatically, those who I know that won't get it or can't get it, I wouldn't even necessarily express my visions to them, because it'd be wasted space, it'd be wasted time. So I don't necessarily worry about the naysayers and the non-believers, because my focus is just keen onto, you know, my goals, you know, for the most part. So, but naysayers from the outside, man, in a sense, you know, I really can't hear, you know. I'm insulated within, you know, this cocoon of just, you know, motivation and dedication and just prosperity and opulence, you know what I mean? Where a lot of that can't get to me as far as when it comes to just negative energies for the most part. But what I can say, any critique that I feel that is genuine, I will always appreciate it, and I would take it and dissect it to see if it was legit. And, you know, for those who I love, you know, and those who love me, you know, I value what they say. But even sometimes those who love you, they don't understand.
They don't understand,
you know? So you got to be very, very, very protective of what you want and your visions and your goals, and not really to just share them with anyone, because it may distract you and it may hurt you, because the people you love and love you as well, that they don't have that vision, that they don't have that belief. And that's fine. That comes from self-doubt, you know. Yeah, I mean, some shit I'm still doing. I'm sorry, can I curse?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, my bad. Some things that I'm doing now, you know what I'm saying? I'm still impressing myself, man. You know, honestly. But some things that I've done, you know, that my mother and probably some other people, they knew I had it in me, but I still kind of like blow them away, you know, in a sense. And that's fine, you know. That comes with it, you know. So ultimately, like I said, man, I have the wisdom and the maturity not to even share any visions and goals to people who can't even think on my frequency. You know what I'm saying? And I only kind of deal with people who are on my frequency, not because I'm better than anyone. It's more so I'm just trying to protect and not disturb my peace and my focal point.
Your sanity is really, really important.
Very important.
And well, what I talk about a lot is focus as well. I see a lot of, you know, people portraying things on social media, but they always address like haters, and in my opinion, I think that's knocking you off your focus, because you're looking for somebody or something that's kind of altering your journey, opposed to you being focused on that one thing we were speaking about off camera, was saying like you focus on that one thing, and like you come up for air, and like you probably notice then, but if you're so focused, you wouldn't even notice like those people.
I tell you this, man. If you look at anybody that you may see, I take that back. If you look at any successful person, you know, you look at any successful person, they don't acknowledge haters. And the reason being is because they don't see them. You know, you're the biggest hater.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So the people that might put up posts talking about these haters this, y'all hating that, whoop whoop, this, that, and the other, you really are speaking subconsciously. Because I feel that I don't think people take me serious. That's my mindset. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, I don't have no haters, man, because I don't think people take me serious, you know?
Oh yeah, I mean, I don't. That's why I never understood that. Like, it's like you're trying to create this false narrative.
Yeah.
To where it's like, man, these people hating on me. It's like, well, I mean, that you should actually, if they're real, you should actually congratulate them because they're giving you some sort of attention to hate on something. They actually clicked on a video, got you a view, or something like that. But my whole mindset is just, like, I don't even notice. I don't notice because of the focus. You know, unless somebody taps me on the shoulder and says, "Hey, that person is hating on you." I'm like, not even.
You don't see it.
You know.
I think in a sense, you know, we live in such a hypersensitive, you know, just climate with everything. You know, I'm from the old school, man. I'm cut from the cloth that I say is discontinued. You know, the people who raised me were born and raised in the Jim Crow era. You know what I'm saying? My mother, she had to go in the back of the store. You know what I'm saying? So I was raised by old black folks. And I say that to say, in a sense, I'm not a sensitive type of person. So I can distinguish criticism from hate.
Absolutely.
And a lot of people, in a sense, can't distinguish that. They don't know the difference between criticism and hate. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just blessed and fortunate and grateful that I can distinguish the two. You know?
Right. When you vibrate on that frequency, you can kind of get that energy from somebody who's like genuine or somebody who's just looking out just to. And I don't understand, like, if they're, you know, true, those haters in general, like the ones who actually hate. Like, they wake up in the morning, they, you know, brush their teeth, eat breakfast, and then they start to hate on somebody that's outside of their focal point of something that they want to do. It's like you start your day doing that opposed to just focusing on that gift that you can give the world.
Well, you know, they say hating is an art too, man. You know, whatever that means. But for the most part, you know, I think it's derivative to, you know, since adolescence, since a kid, man. You know, I think it's more so instilled based on self-doubt, low self-esteem, and a lot of things that, you know, people struggle and battle within themselves. I don't understand how people hate. You know, even before I was married, just say on the dating scene, like, I'm glad I wasn't a hater. I've never said anything remotely negative about a dude or female in any capacity when it comes to just social settings. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just glad I don't have it. I don't understand it, but, you know, to each his own. But you know, you have that mindset for a lot of people that don't want to see you, you know, succeed, you know, for the most part. But success is subjective, though. You know, a lot of people just think it's all dealing with money and things of that nature, which it's a part of it because money brings comfort and freedom, and you know, that's what all human beings strive for, is to be comfortable. But for the most part, man, success is based on, in my opinion, is based on happiness. You know?
And speaking of comfort, like, I think the way it was designed for humans in human nature, discomfort causes change. When the analogy of the lobster, and the lobster has, you know, it outgrows its shell and it's really uncomfortable. Either you're going to be uncomfortable and die, or that discomfort is going to cause you to make some changes. So it goes under a rock and breaks its shell and grow a new one. And that discomfort, I believe, basically, what is your, like, just your view on that, like, discomfort of the entrepreneur, anybody?
I mean, comfort is the enemy of success and achievement, man. You know, athletes train to get better.
Right.
But I can guarantee you can ask any athlete, do they like training? They're gonna be like, hell no. You know, like they may enjoy, you know, the process of certain things, but overall, you know, it's not. They don't like that. And I mean, Muhammad Ali said it best. He was like, you know, suffer now and live like a champion forever. You know, for the most part. That's all coming about of just being uncomfortable, because those situations bring about an extreme response for you to adapt and overcome.
Right.
Fight or flight, you know, for the most part. So I definitely agree that, you know, being comfortable will not change your situations. And it goes back to people who, you know, are in financial straits. It's like, what are you going to do to disrupt your comfort of being uncomfortable?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
What are you gonna do?
Like you're comfortable living check to check, but you're uncomfortable living check to check.
Right.
So what are you gonna do on the action to be uncomfortable, to change that uncomfort so you can be comfortable?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But you know, that's all mindset though. That's all mindset.
It all goes back to mindset.
It all goes back to
How
mindset.
you feed that, because you will never progress if there's always comfort. You know, you're sitting on the couch and you're watching TV, and even though you're in a state of like just bliss, just chilling, there's something that could be done to elevate your situation.
Yeah. I don't think I've been diagnosed with ADD, but I can tell my wife can attest to this as well, man. When we out of town, like, you know, 2 days go by, I'm kind of fidgeting because I'm thinking about all the stuff that I want to do and have to do. You know what I mean? In a sense, and that's more so. I don't like to be confined in ideal spaces that we deem comfort, because I feel like I got work to do. I feel like I need to do something, you know, or I need to learn something, you know, for the most part. I'm glad I developed that when I was young, in a sense, but yeah, that's absolutely true though.
What is your idea on technology and business? Like what is your take on it?
Well, man, I mean, we live in a society now, man, where you have direct-to-consumer relationship, you know, based on technology. Technology is the catalyst, it's the platform. I was fortunate to be invited to Washington, D.C. by a lobbying firm called 3C, Connected Commerce Council. And we went up and spoke to congressmen, congresswomen, staffers, legal counsels when it comes to privacy law. Because right now we have no federal privacy law that protects small businesses. We only have state-to-state mandates. And California just actually mandated and enacted one of the first state privacy laws that takes shape and goes to law January 1st of 2020. Very important, because large businesses, you know, like Walmart, they have legal teams.
Right.
So just say, for instance, I have clients in California. If I service a client, I make a transaction. That transaction, as far as the system, the merchant company in which I use, if it was hacked and they extract that personal information and they say do something malicious towards the client, that client can get a personal attorney and sue me. And I don't have any responsibility on it based upon, you know, it being the merchant that was actually hacked. Well, a huge corporation can actually combat that personal, you know, lawyer that you know, client or customer may get. But small businesses like myself, you know, that'll cripple me, you know, for the most part. So I went there on behalf of other, I want to say about 35 other small businesses across the United States, to basically give our testament how social media and technology has not only sustained but scaled our business from its conception.
Right.
Technology is very, very important. It's a huge, huge factor in my business because I deal with direct consumer relationships. So all of my clients that I've ever made pieces for, I know them. You know, I know them because I've interacted with them. And typically, social media such as Instagram is really the first stop on how I display my garments, my content, and how I interact and pick up leads, referrals, and also clients. You know, so technology, I mean, you either gonna get with it or you're gonna get left in the dark ages, man. You know, when you look at Uber, when you look at Airbnb, you know, Uber is the largest transportation service in the world, but don't own any cars.
Right.
All off technology, right? Connecting the consumer with the actual platform of what it's, you know, being used for. You look at Airbnb, largest accommodation lodging in the world, don't own any property.
Right.
All off technology. You know, so technology is huge. It's here, and it's only gonna grow. You know.
Yeah, and like presidential candidate Andrew Yang, he was speaking about.
I like him.
Yeah, I like his.
I like his approach, man.
Yeah, he was talking about like how, you know, Silicon Valley, and they're coming up with these ideas, and like truck drivers, for instance, they'll have these trucks that drive themselves. And drivers probably would have to learn how to code. And that would, people who just see something or hear something like that, they would go into panic. But like he was saying, like, you know, to protect yourself, to learn technology, and because it's here, it's coming, and it's already here basically. So just having to look at that and just and to adjust. People who don't adjust, they just stick to the antiquated way of doing things. They get left behind, you know. And every business that you see, whether it's Walmart or huge corporation like Amazon, for instance, they've adjusted, and it's all technology, and they're using their platforms to, you know, display that. And people who just do things on just the one-dimensional level and not adjusting with technology, it kind of puts them behind everybody.
Exactly. Man, Amazon's trying to take over the world.
Man,
Amazon doing everything.
I heard they come in with grocery stores.
I mean, they bought Whole Foods.
Yeah,
I mean, you know, Whole Foods is one of the largest natural, you know, organic, you know, groceries in the country, outside of Trader Joe's. But yeah, man, Amazon is doing everything, man. Everything. So yeah, get with it, man, because technology, you know, I remember being a kid and having, you know, some of the technology, you know, from its conception of video games. You know, I came up in the Atari and Nintendo, and, you know, Sega world, man. And to see technology now, as far as video gaming, I mean, it's actually a professional sport.
You
got gamers who make millions of dollars doing stuff we used to do as a kid. You know, so technology, get with it.
Being from Mississippi, what is it take? What is the main reason that there's a huge disconnect in our culture, where, as far as like other markets, where you go to like in Atlanta, and people go out to these local restaurants or hear this local music and they support, and then you come here, and not saying that it's not here, but there's a major difference. What do you think causes that disconnect between, you know, our culture?
I think in a sense, people that live here really don't know the cultural significance and where they actually live and where they're from. I know where I'm from. Like I just told you, I'm from Cleveland, by way of Winstonville, Mount Bayou. That's where my mother's side of the family from, and lineage. I take pride in that. I take pride of traveling the world, and people are like, where you from? And I say the Mississippi Delta. You know, because they automatically knowing the blues, right? You know what I mean? And the blues is basically, you know, the blues was originated from gospel, and from the blues you got rock and roll. From rock and roll you got disco. From disco you got pop, and really from disco and pop you got rap. So from where I'm from, it's kind of like the microcosm the origin of the most popular genre in music, which is hip hop today. And that's how I break things down, and I take pride in that. So when it comes to just, you know, where I'm from, I look at the positive side of it, and not just what the history books say. You know, I deal with it. I know what's going on around here when it comes to overt and covert, you know, racism in a sense. but I look at the positives and where I'm from, and I build off that. So I really would say, man, people really don't appreciate where they're from because they don't really know where they're from.
Right.
And I think, you know, self-knowledge and knowledge of self boosts self-esteem. It
Right.
boosts self-confidence. So I could say, man, I came from a slow town and everybody know everybody, and you know, I could take the negative side,
Right.
but I choose to take the positive side.
Right.
You know, so I feel that that's one thing, man, where we don't necessarily support our own infrastructures and institutions here is because we don't know how we just don't know how beneficial and how great they are.
Right.
Mississippi is I tell people all the time, man, Mississippi is the microcosm of the world when it
Yeah.
relates to race, when it relates to food, when it relates to music, when it relates to a lot of things, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I wear that pridefully, you know?
And that's why a reason why I started this, because I wanted people to see what Mississippi, we're just beyond that stereotypical view that they see us in, and every time I put them on YouTube or something, and just the intent is to get people to see that value that we see in ourselves, because it's not just what you see on TV or I hear comedians and they tell jokes and I've been in Mississippi and all this stuff, but it's more than beyond, it's just beyond that stereotypical lens, and that's my mission, you know, because I take pride in where I'm from as well, and just to give that view out in the world, and because I could just be, you know, taping fights or crazy negative stuff and things that they can look into and be like, yep, that's Mississippi. Yeah. But it's just like, wow, they see something like this interview here and somebody who's from Cleveland, Mississippi, and they say, wow, I didn't know, or like the ignorance is like fed into, as far as like it's now it's like, okay, now we don't view Mississippi like that. It's just it's more than just what we hear or things that we hear on TV or the radio station, whatever the case may be. Yeah. But that's the mission. That's my intent.
You're doing a great job.
And I appreciate that, and I'm going to continue to grow in that and just highlight individuals, groups, organizations, anybody who just contribute or like enhance the culture or just come from that cloth. You know what I'm saying? So that's just my mission. Last question: what is your view on? What is your perspective on value? Like we were speaking about that earlier.
Yeah,
as well.
man. Value. Everything breaks down to value. Everything. Like we were speaking earlier. You know, I lost my grandmother last year. My grandma Beatrice. Love her to death. You know, like I said, I grew up. I was raised, you know, visualizing a young grandmother. You know. And then she got up into, you know, her older age for the most part. But when I spoke at the funeral, you know, I said everything breaks down to value, and I really, you know, I understood that. But one of my OGs, shout out to Andre Taylor, man, Seattle, man. A lot of people know him as Gorgeous Dre. If you ever kind of seen the movie American Pimp, you know what I mean? He was on that, but he's transformed his life doing wonderful things. But he broke down that one time on one of his YouTube videos about value. Everything breaks down to value, and the reason why we mourn our family members is because we value them. You know, the reason why people want to solicit my service because they value my information, my expertise in clothing. When someone wants to come to you and want to be pretty much visualized and documented and videoed when it comes to whatever their craft is, they value all service. You know, so value is something that is very, very important. Like I said, the OG George Fraser, he always said, you know, we're not here on earth to make money. We're here to implement value within ourselves and others, and if you do that, you can't get away out of the money. You know? Because anything that is valuable, money attracts it. You know, so value is very important, man. I try to build my value. I try to give a personal approach to all my clientele, not only just with my business, just so people can see the value within myself. And that goes a long way.
Yeah, and that's what we do with Sipp Culture too, is like when we go to an individual and they have value and we bring value and they have value to us, it's kind of like that, you know, give and take. It's like, wow, we come to you, you come to us. Now it's like both sides can be viewed because we bring value to one another. It's like we need you, you know, that's kind of my motto. I was like, I need you within the culture to where it brings us value and then we have that connectivity there. So value is a thing that I look at and I deem to be, you know, an asset basically. So you are value. You have to look at that as value. People with self-esteem and all of that are like, I'm a person of value. And so no matter what the outside world is saying, I'm a person of value. You see that so much, people will vibrate on that frequency or they'll get out the way. That's how I look at it as well.
That's true.
Without further ado, I mean, you could tell the people where to follow you, websites, you know, anything that they could connect.
Kyris Brown, you can find me on Instagram. It's Kyris Kustoms, KYRISKUSTOMS. Personal Facebook, Kyris Brown. You can also find me on my website at www.kyriscustoms.com, kyriscustoms.com. And I appreciate the opportunity, man. It's I know this is our second go around. I'm proud of you, man, and I appreciate the opportunity, man. And everybody out there, I appreciate the love, the admiration, the nice, kind words, and also just the opportunity, man, to share myself on your platform, as well as all the people that follow me on my social media platforms, man. I appreciate it.
Hey, and thank you for tuning in to Sipp Culture, where we highlight individuals, groups, organizations, or anybody for that matter who enhances or contribute to the culture. Thank you for tuning in.